The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me. Do you think that you could repeat the question and I listen more attentively? There must have been something in all of that nothing that wasn't quite so easy to see. And I must have missed something when you were just talking to me.
People listening on the podcast are going to think that Paul Morano's not here. He
I
didn't
know.
sing at all.
He's not doing the ba ba ba. He's not doing
Very
any of that
focused.
stuff, right? Very good.
focused.
You didn't even get to the ba-ba-bas yet.
Ba, 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 ba.
Had to-
Yeah, why'd you kill that?
You had to play the song longer.
I just would like to set the record straight. I play the entire file that you gave me.
Well, actually, the entire file that we gave you was like wicked long, but somewhere along the line it got truncated.
It was wicked long, and then someone put a fade in, and they left all the silence,
Bastards.
and there was nothing I could do.
See how they are?
If you send me the full file, I will update that
All
for
right.
you.
I'm going to have Maddie do that after we have our Maddie discussion this week. So no Maddie today, by the way, folks. Hey, how you guys doing? Good. Glad to have you along here. This is the Paying Attention podcast. I'm a little under the weather today, so I'm struggling to talk. So I apologize for that as we go. And I also apologize if I end up coughing into the mic at some point. We have Paul Morano is with us today.
Howdy.
We have the voice of God, Mr. Jonathan, with us.
He's the voice of God, and I'm the voice of reason.
Right.
So that's sort of
If you do say so yourself.
they sort of go together.
Yeah, he has a very high opinion of himself, you'll notice.
I think I have a higher opinion of Jonathan saying he's the voice of God.
Really? All right. Very good. Fair enough. So we got a bunch of things I wanted to talk about today, Paul. We have no Maddie to go through news, so I was looking for some news things that I thought would really be Paul-centric. And
Paul-centric news clips. That's an interesting concept. What did you find?
And here's what we found.
By the way, what is a Tom-centric news clip?
Anything that has to do with sex.
That's Tom-centric?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this actually works out. This actually works out for both of us. This first story.
Okay.
If I can find it. So here's the headline. It's in the New York Post. It is shocking number of Americans have sex at work.
Okay.
Which is amazing to me. Before we even get into the story, because I thought anything sexual at work was considered sexual harassment or sexual assault. That you weren't supposed to tell a woman that she's got a nice looking dress on because that might hurt her little feelings and she'll wilt like a flower. And we need laws to protect her from these things. And yet it really seems as though nobody gives a shit because everybody's having sex at work. And I know a lot of people that are married that met their spouses at work. So we've got two realities here. We've got the reality of the real world, and then we have the fake reality of the media, which tells us that none of these things are really happening.
I would say that sex at work would be consensual on both ends. So anything that is said during that interaction, that inappropriate relationship, we'll call it, would be fair game. You'd be okay. You're safe from sexual harassment.
Yeah, you would think so.
Unless one of you is a superior,
boss, right?
And a man, and the inferior
Is a
worker
woman.
is
Yeah,
a
but
woman.
if it was the other way around, that'd be okay.
It would be completely okay.
Absolutely. So from the New York Post, more than 1 in 10 Americans have, quote, done the business at their business, according to a new survey. A new study of 2,000 people found that 14% of those polled have actually had sex in their place of work. And these risky respondents don't always get away with it. Of those who say that they have had sex at work, 1 in 5 have been caught in the act. That's 19%. The new survey conducted by Sex Toy Store Eden, well, we won't say who they are, looked at when work and romance interlinked and found that while some have done the deed at their place of work, as many as 44% of Americans have had full-fledged workplace romances. So, Paul.
Yes, Tom.
All of this is very confusing to me because we see these media messages every day. We listen to Democrats who live in a totally different reality telling us that when you're at work, you're not even supposed to tell anybody that they have a nice-looking dress or your hair looks nice because that might hurt a woman's feelings. Even though they're supposed to be equal, on the one hand, we're supposed to be equal. On the other hand, if you say something to a woman, that's terrible. But apparently, 44% of Americans have some kind of romance going on at work, and a full 14% of them are actually having sex while they're at work.
And your question to me is what? Because there's so many different avenues we can go down here.
See, he's looking for a way to ask me a question, and I'm not going to give him that opportunity.
But you didn't ask me one yet.
Well,
so I'm waiting.
I'm waiting for your response. What do you think?
There's a whole bunch of things to think about this.
Then pick one.
All right.
I've done it. I've had sex at work.
I've had sex at work.
And I was caught.
You were caught?
Yes.
I've never been caught having sex at work.
That was the voice of Jonathan saying that, not me.
He wants to make sure that all of his religious friends don't think he's the one that said that.
Right. First of all, if you want my honest opinion of the assessment of the entire thing.
No, I want you to lie, and I want you to tell us a dishonest assessment of what's going on.
All right, dishonestly, it's just fantastic. No, honestly, it is confusing because the Me Too movement has not really defined the parameters of what exactly constitutes moral sexual advances and moral sexual behavior. So I think there's a lot of confusion today. However, I don't think the confusion started with the Me Too movement and what's going on with the rules. I think the movement started with the invention of the birth control pill. And I think that's when all the confusion began.
But in full disclosure, you think everything bad in the world started with the birth control pill?
I think a lot of the ills that we have today, including the depopulation and cultural suicide of virtually every European and American nation today.
Can you say that like in words that people can understand at home?
I think that's
like we're not in a college class.
Well, it's simple. For the past couple of generations, Europeans and Americans have been having their 1.4 children, while Muslims overseas and Hispanics underneath us are having their 9 to 10 children, like Americans used to have a couple generations ago. It's not going to be long before all of Europe is lost, and the United States. The only reason why one of the biggest reasons why we are accepting all the illegal aliens that we have is to make up for all of the people that should be here that aren't because of the contraception, abortion.
Yeah, but why do we need them?
Why do we need people?
Isn't it bad for the environment to have more people? Why don't we just have less people? What's wrong with that?
I don't know how I feel about them breathing my air.
Right. Yeah.
I need my air.
You need your air. I think there's enough air to go around for a whole slew of people.
Listen, and I don't think you're wrong. The numbers actually correlate. The number of abortions that have happened in the last 20 years directly correlate to the number of illegal aliens we've accepted in the last couple of years, or immigration that we've had in the last 20 years. And I know that there are schools of thought in the political world that that's one of the reasons why we need it. I'm just not sure where they came up with that. Where did they come up with the idea that we need these people? Like, okay, it's terrible. I'm against abortion. We shouldn't be aborting anybody.
The economy will go south without them.
What? How?
Well, in short, I think that young people, teenagers, people before they start their so-called careers, were the people that naturally fill these positions. Mm-hmm. There aren't as many of them from the countries, the native countries that they live in, so you need something to fill that void in order for the economy
Wouldn't
to
it just
be
be better
afloat?
if we had fewer people in the United States? Think how great that would be for the environment. Fewer trash being created.
Bill Burr says that, if you wiped out a slew of people and brought it down to a reasonable 50,000, we could all go to the Super Bowl. Some of us could play in it. I mean, it would just be
great.
Lanes would be opening up on the highways.
See, I'm not big on people. When I finally decide to retire and skip out of this place, and I'm not telling anybody when I do it either. I'm just going to leave. I'm going somewhere where there's no people.
The problem is people your age and older. There's a whole slew of us, and they're the baby boom generation. And I
think you mean white people, right?
Well, no.
Okay.
I just mean older people. And without younger people, there's nobody to pay the bills, nobody to pay Social Security and Medicaid, and for the nursing homes that people without money don't have, and all that kind of stuff. So you're creating a demographic imbalance that is coming back to bite us big time.
So back to our topic here with people having sex at work.
Yeah, they shouldn't have sex outside of marriage. That's where I begin.
Yeah, so to Paul, all sex is wrong unless you're married.
That's correct.
Right.
That is correct.
Thanks for coming, folks. Good night.
That's where I begin. You want to know where I begin?
The end of the show.
That's where I begin. Now continue, and I'll talk about it more.
All right. So here's more from the story. An office romance can be great for company morale, according to the survey. 92% of those who responded who have workplace romances reported that it made them more excited to come to work. Well, yeah, if I was getting some at work, I'd be more excited to go to work every day, too.
I just assumed that was a double entendre and you did it on purpose.
So I just let it go.
What? I didn't. Whatever it was. Yeah, I don't have any problems with office romances. The notion that you shouldn't date people at work or even your boss, I don't have any problems with it.
Oh, I'm so against it.
Really?
I'm so against it.
Yeah, I think I'm with Jonathan.
The breakup,
Why is that?
breakup is so horrific, and now
you got to work with them every day.
Dread going to work.
Well, you got to be smart. You shouldn't start a romance if you're going to break up.
Well, here's the real question.
That's the most ridiculous thing you have ever said,
I know, but
sir.
the funniest.
No, it's. I mean, we shouldn't just be cavalier with romances. Of course, if they're going to break up, you shouldn't give your whole heart. It'll just break. It'll shatter. So
we should have women living on one side of the Mississippi and men living on the other, and we meet in rafts to procreate, and then go back to our separate sides.
But only if Paul performs a marriage ceremony for you first.
I would like to get married and then divorced on the same day.
Yes.
See, we need to go back to what used to be called courting. And courting, people actually took their relationship seriously. It was to see if they were right for each other in order to get married. So there was no using each other. There was no horrible heartbreak.
I'm pretty sure there's always been using each other.
Well, of course. I'm just saying the model itself.
I see.
It was better for the family and society.
See, I'm against sex with someone that you work with because what if the sex is bad? And now you got to see this person every day.
Well, you said the office romance. That doesn't necessarily mean sex.
No, but we had two things that we talked about.
Okay.
We talked about people having sex at work and people having romances at work.
Okay.
14% of people have sex at work. And then it was somewhere around 44. Yeah, it's 44% of people have romances at work.
Yes.
I think they're both terrible for the same exact reason.
I agree with what you said earlier. A lot of people do meet their future spouse at work. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with romance at work at all. In fact, where else are you going to meet somebody? At a bar?
Well, that's true. You don't want to meet anybody at a bar.
Well,
I hate bars. I hate meeting people at bars. I've had women come on to me at bars, and I say no because we're in a bar. It's like, no, actually, I appreciate the offer, but no, thank you. 60% of all work relationships have ended in a breakup within 12 months, according to the survey, Paul. 60% of all work-related. So now you've had a romance with someone at work, right?
Yeah.
It was probably good at the beginning, like most relationships are pretty good at the beginning. And then we're going to segment right into like a relationship show, aren't we? And then they break up within 12 months. And now you get to see this person every day. And usually when you break up with somebody, it's like, as we talked about in our last relationship show, it's usually a bad breakup. Like usually when you break up with someone, there's animosity there. So now how do you work harmoniously with this person? Say like your boss put you both on a project together.
yeah.
And you were doing the nasty for 12 months and now you're not. And the breakup was pretty bad. And now you're going to like sit together with this person. You actually have to work and produce something for the company.
I'm going to say if the relationship lasted at least 12 months, the sex was pretty good. So you got a shot at some rebound sex during the project.
Well, you're probably right about that. Rebound sex is always important.
And the key to this is just like in any situation, when you give notice and work so that you can rely on that job for a reference, you should be breaking up nicely with each other so that you can live civilly.
I think all relationships should break up nicely.
You guys are violating, without realizing it, our human nature. It's impossible to break up nicely and cleanly and without any heartbreak or anger.
No, it's not impossible.
Let me just finish the sentence. If
he's going to qualify it now because he knows he's wrong.
Especially if there was sexual intimacy involved.
No.
Of course you're not going to say, okay, that was cool. We'll see you later.
I have dated women that I've had amazing sex with, that we had a great relationship, and then it just didn't work out, and we parted our separate ways, and are still friends today. And
I would say that I'm friends with every single girl that I've ever dated, except for one, and I don't care for her, but she found me on Facebook 10 years later, and I can be cordial.
Right.
She lives in Texas. She has 2 kids.
Yeah, she's far enough away you can be nice to her.
I can be nice to her.
Right.
She still owes me $400. That's the sticking point.
So,
not that I'm keeping track.
Right.
Just
with the exception of women I was in very long-term relationships with, I'm still friendly with almost every woman I've ever dated. You know, the 2 or 3 women I had long-term relationships with, none of them want to talk to me. But women that I've just dated, women that I've just had sex with, women that I even went out with, because there's a difference between dating and going out, I guess. Yeah, I mean, almost all of my breakups have been okay.
I think you're both a little bit in denial.
In other words, he thinks we're lying.
No, I think you believe you're telling the truth. But I think it's a little more complicated than that you're not even consciously recognizing.
No, listen, there was...
at the point of the breakup, of course, there's a little... You've got that separation anxiety where now there's no one in my life and you're depressed. Yeah, there's badness.
The only thing that depresses me is that the sex stops. That's the only thing that depresses me when I break up with somebody.
You're a little more animalistic than I am.
I'm definitely an animal.
I end up with emotional ties to people. And
what is this weird emotion that you speak of? What does that mean? I'm unfamiliar with that term.
Not all of us can live our lives as functioning sociopaths.
All right, Paul. I think we've
high functioning sociopaths.
I think we've exhausted this topic. I think.
Well, we could zero in on the question of what does Me Too mean in this kind of context, and I don't know is my answer. I think it has something to do with consent, but how do you measure that?
I've been accosted so many times by women without giving consent. And I don't hashtag Me Too. I mean, it is what it is. You're in a situation and things happen and some old lady grabs your tush and you just move on, you giggle. And
you mean you didn't go to therapy when someone grabs your ass?
No, because I consider the intent of the offense, if you will. So if a little old lady grabs my butt as I'm walking by and I'm at an event DJing and she gives me a little squeeze, I kind of say thank you and wink at her and you suck it up.
Right.
What if it was a beautiful girl?
Same thing.
He grabbed back.
I wouldn't grab back.
No, you wouldn't?
No, I certainly don't want to be violated, but I'm not going to join the Me Too movement just because somebody...
So I have the opposite problem. Yes, I've had women grab me, but I have had, even recently, I have more gay men sexually assault me.
Get out.
I swear to... We've talked about this. Even when we were on CAP, we talked about this. I was in Kohl's one day, which used to be Bradley, so I think it was Bradley's back then. And I had this guy following me around, and I think he thought at the time, I thought he thought I worked there. And he kind of was trying to get my attention. And every time I went to a different department, there he was. So I finally turned around and said, listen, I don't work here. I don't know why you're following me around. And he grabbed my package and said, no, I just thought you were really cute. And I was like, yeah, don't do that again, okay? You're going to not do that again or there's going to be a real effing problem here. And it happens... I don't want to say it happens a lot now, but it still does happen. And I don't go to therapy. I don't join a discussion group. I'm
honestly a little flattered when I do get hit on by a gay man.
But I don't lose any sleep over it. So I don't understand.
Wait.
Attention's attention, Paul.
Right.
Jonathan, you're a little flattered when you're hit on by a gay man.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. He thinks I'm attractive.
He thinks I'm cute.
Okay.
It's fine. I'm not offended by it in any way. I'm not bothered by it. I like it.
Well, I suppose it means...
I always wondered about you.
It depends on what you mean by hit on, not accosted like Tom.
No, I've had some interaction similar to Tom's, identical to Tom's. And
really,
honestly,
Where do you guys go?
I can tell you the other than the recent one, the last time it happened, I was at the Blue Dolphin, and I didn't know that the Blue Dolphin in New Hampshire, I think it's in Portsmouth, maybe, is a place where a lot of gay guys go. So Melvin Taylor was playing, and he sent me a thing saying, "I'm playing at the Blue Dolphin. Why don't you come watch us play?" I was with Penny at the time, so we went. So we got a table, and Penny was giggling the whole time. We had a couple of friends with us. They were kind of giggling, though. Like, there was this little thing going on that I didn't know what was going on because nobody told me this was a place where a lot of gay people hang out. So Penny handed me like a $20 bill and said, "Can you go to the bar and get me a drink?"
Okay.
So I go to the bar, and I'm standing there, and this guy starts hitting on me. So I just get away from him as quick as I can, but I'm in a bar. There's not really a lot of places I can go. I go to the other end of the bar, and another guy hits on me. And I look over, and everyone at my table is just in hysterics. They think it's the funniest effing thing in the world. By the time I got back to my table, I get hit on by like 4 more guys. And I was like, whatever. Just whatever. Like, what do you do with that? There's nothing you can do.
I look at it as my fault for wearing the pink suit to begin with.
Well, that's true, right.
Basically waving a flag around.
Let me go back about 5 minutes here.
All right.
Jonathan, you were mentioning that it's flattering when a woman does that to you. Do you think there's anything different psychologically when a woman gets hit on versus when a man gets hit on? Because there probably is, no?
I'm sure that because of our makeups,
yes,
there is a difference.
It's always different.
X and Y chromosomes.
Men and women are different.
So when a woman is accosted physically, let's say somebody grabs her butt, it's a little different in terms of its effect on her than if you were to be butt grabbed by another woman, by a woman.
By a woman, yes, and honestly, but when it comes to terms of a guy, if I feel strongly that I would stand up for myself if somebody was really pushing themselves on top of me. I'm not saying that I'm a tough guy, but I would go to blows if I had to defend myself, and that is something that a woman may not be able to do if the guy was, say, twice her size.
Yeah, that plus she probably feels a little more violated than you would feel if a woman did it to you, because sexually, a woman is sort of the receiver of the love interaction, whereas a man is more the giver. I
agree with you.
So, Tom, that would be the difference.
I was so going to go somewhere with that, but I'm just not going to. I'm just not going to do it. Not going to do it. Listen, I don't understand. Maybe because I'm a guy, I don't understand. Women who are, let's say, sexually assaulted. Someone grabs a woman's ass. That's a sexual assault, right? You need therapy for that? Like you're in a bar and some guy grabbed your ass, and now you need to go. You're going to lose sleep. You're going to cry yourself to sleep, and you need to go talk. You need to go talk to someone about that. I just don't get that at all.
Well, there are two things here.
Like it's different. I mean, if someone's raped, if there's like a traumatic thing that happens to you, that I get. But if some guy grabs your ass or some woman grabs her ass, I don't understand why you need therapy for that. I just don't. I don't understand why you need to cry yourself to sleep, or why you wouldn't just suck it up and move on with your life. Like I don't get it. And again, maybe it's because I'm a guy that I don't get it, but I don't understand it at all. And
there are two things to consider here: the trauma and the justice. So. One question is, does a person really need therapy for something like that? Another is it such an injustice that the man should pay for it?
Well, listen, anybody who assaults someone else should pay for it.
All right.
That I agree
So
with.
that part of the Me Too movement you agree with?
Yes.
All right. I agree with that, too.
Yeah.
You shouldn't assault people.
Right. Assaulting people is bad.
Assaulting is bad. But if you do, you're saying... even though the man should pay for it, the woman shouldn't be all that affected by it.
Well, I don't understand especially in this world of men and women are the same. I don't understand why. And again, only because it's happened to me, right? I've been sexually assaulted a number of times. I've never once been laying in bed thinking, "Oh my God, this is so horrible," and not be able to sleep about it. I've never gone to my pastor or my rabbi and said, "Geez, Rabbi, I really need to talk about this. It's really bothering me." Some gay guy grabbed my package. I've never done that. I've never even thought of doing that. The only time it even comes up is when we have these kind of discussions, but it's not anything that's ever bothered me.
Do you think that these discussions are part of your therapy?
Oh, listen, this whole show is my therapy. This whole show is my therapy.
Why don't we rename it?
Tom's Therapy Show.
Therapy with Tom.
So, all right. Have we exhausted this, or is there more to discuss? People having sex at work. Don't have sex at work. It might seem fun in the moment, and I understand it's hard to reject it if someone's coming onto you at work. But, boy, nothing good can come of that.
It's very dangerous.
You know what you do is you say, listen, why don't I meet you after work? We'll go have a drink. Then you have sex. Okay, maybe, but not at work. You don't want to have sex at work. And this is me saying this, right? So, all right, kids, thanks for coming. Do we take a break or do we go to another topic? All right, we'll hit one other topic.
If ever you want to talk about the meaning and purpose of human sexuality on a beneath the surface level, I'd be happy to yak with you.
We would need a 4-hour show and 57 advertisers to be able to get to that.
All right.